This is linear functions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. I don't need you guys to talk. Be quiet. All right, here we go. 12 to 20. Okay, so what you're going to have today, you're going to have a table um, that has your function rule in it, and it has your input values. Okay, so you might see something um, kind of like, okay, we have a table here, and basically these tables only have a little different than the tables we had yesterday. So they only have two rows, okay, and then they have different columns. Okay, so it might look like that. It might be less than that, whatever. Okay, but you're going to have a okay, you're going to have a rule that's up at the top. Okay, this might say function of x. Let's just start with a simple one equals negative 2x. Okay, all right. So what you're going to have to do here, okay, you're going to be given this value, which is your x column. This is going to be your function of x column. Okay, and remember, what did I tell you guys to think of the function of x like? It's like your y, okay? So you think of this like your y value, okay? So when I plug in numbers to this, let's say that I have some numbers here. Let's say I have negative 1, I have 3, I have 0, 2, and 1, okay? Yes? Function of x, okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do is use my rule to determine these numbers down here, right? So basically, I'm going to plug each of these x values in for this x to determine that particular function of x. So in this first one, what's the x value? Negative 1. So I'm going to plug this in here. What's negative 2 times negative 1? Negative times a negative gives me a what? So what is negative 2 times negative 1? 2. Negative 2 times what am I going to plug in on the second one? 3. What's negative 2 times 3? Negative 6. Negative 2 times 0? 2. Negative 2 times 2? And negative 2 times positive 1 is? Okay. Each one of these, each one of these represents a point on the graph. Now, all of these are linear functions. And what does linear mean? That means that they are going to form a straight line when you graph them. Okay? All of the ones you do today are linear. If you come across one that does not form a straight line, you did something wrong. Okay? You did something wrong in your calculations. Okay? All of them are going to form a straight line. Okay? So let's go ahead and graph these points. Did you guys write these down? Okay. So the first point is negative 1, 2, right? So from here, from my origin, I'm going to go. What is also important that you have to do here? You have to be able to graph correctly. Okay? My x was negative 1. What was my y value? What is it? Positive 2. So my first point is going to be right there. All right, what's my second point? 3, negative 6. So I'm going over 3 down how far? Okay. My next point is going to be 0, 0. So that goes right through the origin. So far, are these forming a straight line? Yeah. Okay, then my next one is going to be 2, negative 4. So over 2, down 4. And then my last one is going to be over 1, down 2. So over 1, down 2. Did I form a straight line there? Yes, I did. So I did that linear function correctly. Okay? It is. Does that make sense how we did that? Okay. All right. So let's take a look now where it gets a little more complicated. I'm going to make a little bit better table here. Okay. Sometimes you're probably going to have to use a separate sheet when you do your worksheet because these worksheets are kind of crowded. Okay. Some of the rules, the function rules, have fractions involved. Now, when I do fractions, it doesn't mean. So let's say that I have one that looks Okay? When I have a fraction, okay, let's say that I have a fraction like this. Let's say I have function of x equals, by the way, did everybody understand the one we just did? That was not that hard. Okay. So I have function of x equals negative 1 half x plus 4. Okay. So here's my x value, and here's my function of x. And remember, what is my function of x also known as? My y value. Okay? All right, so when I have some values here, let's say I have negative 2, 0, 2, 4, 6. Okay, so when I plug this in, and this is why I say you might need to use a separate sheet. Okay, if I plug in a 2 here for x, okay, basically what that means is negative 1 half times what? Times negative 2. But in order to multiply this whole number times a fraction, what do I have to make this whole number or this integer into? Fraction. So I put a 1 underneath it. I'll do that in a different color so you know I'm adding this in there. Okay. And then I have plus 4. Okay, well, first of all, these two negatives cancel each other out. They make it a what? Positive. And then I have 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 times 1 is what? 2. So what's 2 over 2? Okay, so this is basically 2 over 2 plus 4. Well, what 2 over 2 is equal to 1 plus 4. What's 1 plus 4? So this first one's going to be what? 5. Now, anytime you have a 0 as part of your x, don't go through a whole lot of work. Because any fraction, regardless of whether it's positive, negative, any fraction times 0 is what? So this is just going to be what? 4. Okay? Now this one I have a 2. So I have negative 1 half times 2 over 1 plus 4. Well, first of all, I know it's going to be negative, right? Now, what's 2 over 2? 1. So this is negative 1 plus 4. What's negative 1 plus 4? Negative 5. You owe me $1. You have 4. Do you have money left? 3. Okay. Now, this is 4. So negative 1 half times 4 over 1. Eventually, you're going to be able to start doing this part in your head. Okay? Especially anytime you have a fraction that has a 1 on the top. All you have to do is multiply that and divide by the bottom number. So what's 1 times 4? 4 divided by 2. So this is negative 2 plus 4. What's negative 2 plus 4? 2. What part? Okay. Here's the thing. Like this part or this part? Okay. Anytime you have a fraction that you're multiplying and it has a 1 on the top, okay, you multiply it by the whole number or the integer that you're multiplying by, and then divide it by whatever's on the bottom. So what's 1 times 4? 4. And it's a negative, so 4 divided by, negative 4 divided by the bottom number is 2, which gives me what? Negative 2. Does that make sense how I got that? Okay. So then I combine these two, okay, and I get 2. Now, did you happen to notice a pattern here? Yeah, what's the pattern that you notice? 5, 4, 3, 2. What is this going to be? 1. Okay, and when I graph these, okay, let's graph these. I have negative 2, 5. So negative 2, 5. And then I have 0, 4. So over 0, up 4. And then I have 2, 3. Over 2, up 3. And then I have 4, 2. Over 4, up 2. Did we do something wrong here? Oh, I did 2, 2, didn't I? Sorry. I should do 2, 3. There we go. And then I have 6, 1. So over 6, up 1. Okay, did I form a straight line? Oh, yeah. No, I can't. All right. Hey, hey, hey. I have a way to fix that. Just make these backwards. Look at that. Straight line. Okay. All right. Does that make sense how we did that one? Okay. Now, sometimes you're going to see one that has a fraction that doesn't have a 1. What do I mean by that? Let's say I have something like this. My function of x, and this is where we might have a little bit of trouble, equals 4 over 3x. Okay? These are my x values. This is my function of x, which is also known as y. Okay, so over here I might have, okay, I have negative 6, negative 3, 0, 3, 6. Okay, so I'm going to plug the first one in. Okay, so this is 4 over 3 times, what's my first value? So this is negative 6 over 1. Now, you can do the multiplication here, but if I look at this, what's a way to make this a little bit easier on myself? I can cross cancel. Now, I don't care if you do that or not. I mean, you're just creating more work for yourself if you don't, okay? But I know for a fact that if I'm multiplying a positive times a negative, I know it's going to be a what? It's going to be a negative. So I'm not going to worry about the negative anymore. Now, what do I know goes into both 3 and 6? 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 6 twice. Okay? What's 2 times 4? What's 1 times 1? So this is just what? Negative 8. You could. And did I get the same answer? I did. Okay, and then I can do it this. I mean, if you want to do it in your head, I'm fine with that. You could say 4 times negative 3 is what? Negative 12 divided by 3? Negative 4. You can do it that way. I don't care. Okay? And then I have, no matter what, this is always going to be what? 0. And then you're starting to see some kind of a pattern here, aren't you? How is what? Shh. What? How is this 4? It's not. It's negative 4. How is it negative 4? Okay. So 4 over 3 times negative 3 over 1, right? Okay. So those, I can cancel them out. I know it's going to be negative. I can cancel those out, so it's just 4 over 1, which would be negative 4. Or, what's 4 times negative 3? I mean, what's 4 times 3? 12, and what's 3 times 1? And what's 12 divided by 3? Negative 4. Make sense? Okay. All right. Does that make sense to you people? Okay. It requires a little bit of work, but you should be good to go. If you can do these in your head, I would be fine with that because there's not a lot of room for you to show your work on this. Okay. 18. Okay. Any questions? Okay.